This site we're visiting today is very special for two reasons. The first is that it's not mentioned at all by Harry Bell, although it is squarely on one of his alignments, and the second is that it's not open to the general public. You can only get in here on special days like Doors Open Day, which it is now. And there's a very good reason for that. It's right on the approach for Glasgow Airport. Welcome to All Hallows Church.
Good morning. Welcome to Inchinnan All Hallows Parish Church. What we actually have up here is the layout of the original church, which was built in 1904, and we have a photograph of it, a picture of it here. That is the old church in red, round about here, which was dismantled because of the airport. And what we actually have on this drawing as well is the boundary for the original 1828 church. Underneath the earlier church is the blue outline, and that one was actually standing on the same place as the original Templar church, which was built in 1100 AD and had survived all the way up until 1828, when they decided to knock it down. And at that particular time, when they knocked it down, they discovered a whole lot of skulls underneath the floor of the church. And of course, they thought there was some sorts of ritual work going on with the Templars, but it was quite normal for the Templars to bury their people underneath the church itself.
So this is a rare treat today. We're actually at the site of All Hallows Church in Inchinnan, which is a really old site. Originally it was under the auspices of St Conval, who's one of the four saints that Harry mentions quite a lot. And in terms of Harry Bell's alignments, this is actually on a line from Camp Hill in Queen's Park up to the Dumbarton Rock in the far distance. Also goes through St Conval's Chariot and Inchinnan New Parish Church as well. St Conval's Church was probably a wattle and daub or timber construction which hasn't been found yet in the excavations. We very rarely manage to get into this site because as you can see, we're right on the flight path for Glasgow Airport. I'm looking right down the runway here, so it's actually under their control. But the site itself is very interesting. It's right beside the cart, and just across the river there is the junction of the white and the black carts, which is quite an energetic spot. So in ancient, early medieval times, this had been a major site for trade and commerce, because from here you can get up the Clyde into Glasgow, you can get up the cart waters into Paisley and other parts of Glasgow. So a really important trade site. In the 9th or 10th centuries, the Vikings besieged Dumbarton Rock, which was the main base of the Britons. Dumbarton means Fort of the Britons. So they were forced to leave, and they came upriver to here. And then the Vikings continued to harass and take control of the area. So the seat of power moved upriver to Govan and round the old parish church. So the story of St Conval is that he was an Irish monk who came across the sea on a stone. He had prayed to be given a means of crossing over from Ireland to Scotland, and a stone appeared which he stood on, which carried him across and deposited him here. And this is known as St Conval's Chariot, and we're going to have a look at that later. But he became important in that he was a disciple of St Kentigern, who of course had the church in Glasgow. And St Conval is has several sites in Glasgow, of which the next most important one, I guess, is probably Rutherglen Parish Church. The structure we're looking at here is the old mausoleum of the Templar Church. So we now moved downriver about half a mile to Inchinnan New Parish Church to have a look at this wonderful collection of Templar gravestones. And these are just in the porch outside the church. And these were all removed from the site of All Hallows Church during the excavations. They're called Templar stones because most of them have these sword carvings on them. And it's interesting that some of them have this sort of pyramidal triangular shape, which is rather reminiscent of the Viking hogback stones, such as those that you will find in Govan Old Parish Church. This one in particular has this wonderful cross and base carving on it. Inchinnan New Parish Church also has a rather nice grass-cut labyrinth in the back of the church. And you know me, I'm always a sucker for walking a labyrinth, so I always like to stop off at this one when I'm there. But the real action is round the front of the church, where they have this covered porch area behind railings, and they have the three most spectacular stones there. And these are all of the Govan school, dating back to the 9th to the 11th century, thereabouts. And they're very similar to the ones that are in Govan Old Parish Church, hence the term the Govan school, suggesting that there was a continuity of power in the area. As I mentioned earlier, you know, the kings moved the seat of power from here up to Govan, and Govan became the seat of the kings of Strathclyde. This centre stone in particular has some lovely carvings on the side that puts me rather in mind of the Govan sarcophagus. And this end one, just look at that intricate trellis work there. It really is quite a spectacular piece of work. They did find a fourth stone, or a fragment of a fourth stone recently, that's now in Paisley Museum. But now let's go back up the river and we'll have a look at the Argyll stone and St Conval's Chariot. This is St Conval's Chariot and the Argyll stone, and the Argyll stone is said to be this one closest to the camera, which has this very deep cut mark in the top, and the far away one is said to be St Conval's Chariot, the stone in which St Conval used to travel to Scotland. However, in an earlier text, it refers to St Conval's stone as having a hollow in the top that was filled with water, and pilgrims would bathe themselves or anoint themselves with the water in order to gain the blessing of the saint, and many miracles were attributed to Conval. So it seems to me more likely that this one with the hollow in the top is actually St Conval's Chariot. The Argyll stone is supposed to have been the base of a cross shaft, and that is really not deep enough to have a cross put into it. And both these stones were moved to this location sometime prior to 1836. They were part of the Blytheswood estate, but they both came from the vicinity, so probably not too far from here. And both of them are on the alignment on Harry Bell's network, running from Camp Hill up to Dumbarton Rock.